Hey, what's up everyone? S2 here from Be a Python Dev. In this video, we're gonna go over making a little utility tool with Python and TkInter for the graphical user interface to convert Celsius to Fahrenheit. And we're gonna do this by using buttons, labels, text areas, some little things you can interact with in the GUI to get things accomplished. Using these little basic blocks, you can make a lot of different tools in Python and run them in a GUI window. Which is a lot easier for non-technical people that want to mess with a GUI or a CLI. So let's see how we'll do this. It's been a while, so bear with me here. We're just gonna, from TkInter, import star. This will give us access to all of the tools. And then to make a, well, actually it'll put all of the tools inside the normal namespace, like you could do from TkInter import tk. And then this will give you access to just the class object, but then you'll still need all the labels and all that other fun stuff. So if you just import star, you have all the access to it in the namespace, but it does kind of clog up your namespace and you might accidentally overwrite stuff or initialize things you don't mean to. Usually within software development, you want to be intentional with your imports, but for the sake of this toy demo, we're just going to import everything because why not? No, really though, it's just easier for making small things like this. Sorry about that. All right, so first we need access to a GUI window that we can put stuff onto, and we'll get that by using the tk object. This is just a class that, you know, initializes the basic window and GUI that you'll end up using. Then you put stuff onto it. For instance, we can give this thing a title. You can bind things to it, calls. If you're using Visual Studio Code that recognizes the TK library, you can see all the objects on it here. So I think we want a title. So you can see if we type GUI.tit, you know, you get title, auto completes. And then you can set the title here, and we're just going to call this a temperature converter. And then to show the basics of what we got before we start talking about the actual GUI components, we just start it in a main loop. This will keep it in a thread and will continually kind of process the thing within the Python runtime until you close the window and it binds with the operating system to display the window to you. So I think we can just do Python, I think this will work, maybe Python 3, what folder am I in? I think I'm in this, Python TkInter examples, temp.py. Python 3 was not found. Maybe I need to capital P. Okay, maybe I have it namespace to just Python and not Python 3. All right. So here we can see our window. Let me just make sure our window's showing up. There's not much going on. You just have a basic window that you can kind of resize, and it's named temperature converter. So now we will split this up into a grid, and we will add our components into it. So for instance, our labels, our buttons, and our text areas. All right. So you add labels to a box by defining the components. So we're gonna have one label, we'll call it label 1. We want to bind this to our GUI object. We want to give it some text, so we'll just text it as label 1 for now. I think there's a few other things we want to add on to it, but for now let's just, man, I can't type. I got a microphone in front of me that's making it more difficult to type. You can decorate it with colors. What's the default colors look like? So to see what this looks like, we'll just run it. We don't actually see our labels because they're not put into the grid. We do that by going label.gridLayout, and then we place it inside of our GUI. I don't know why I can't type anymore. And then we'll give some spacing around it using the pad X property and the pad Y. So these are the vertical and height coordinates that we're putting around. Go ahead and copy this. I'm pretty sure I don't need to do the whole thing. And then we want to put these side by side. We'll do this by moving the column over. We'll keep the padding the same. Alright, and now you can see our GUI wraps around the labels, so it makes itself as big as the things we put inside of it by default. You can change that with the actual geometry command to specify what the height and width should be. You can actually customize a lot, but for the sake of this video, we're not going to get into that much detail. And I think the basic example, you know, black text on a gray background works for what we need to do. You know what, for just a little more customization, we'll go ahead and change the background and we'll make it white. So I'll show you how that works. So now you can see it's not super clear, especially since this window is very hard to move. Oh my gosh. All right, there, now I can move it. You can see our text is on a white background now. And you could probably put some more padding and margin around that to make it a little bigger if you want the text to be bigger. And maybe just to make it even more obvious that we're doing stuff, let's just make it blue and yellow. And then you can change the text color by using the foreground property. We're going to change this to blue just to be more colorful. I do have a paste bin of this already, and it's just using basic stuff. You can change this in the paste bin. But yeah, we tweak this by setting the properties, the properties, the key attributes of the label object when we make it. All right, so now we can see our label is a little more prettier over here in the top corner. Okay, and now for the next thing, we want our entry boxes where we can put in the things that we're going to convert. We do this with just using the entry element, and we bind this to our GUI object, so that way when we set the grid, the C reference, this should be an underscore, the C field object will know what the GUI is based on this entry object. So then when you set c.grid, it has a reference of this GUI with inside it. A little abstract, but if you're super familiar with object-oriented programming, you'll kind of know what it means. So C is the Celsius field where we input the Celsius value, and F will be the Fahrenheit field where we input the Fahrenheit value. And then we can like move them around and set them and all sorts of stuff back and forth. So actually let's set this text to be Celsius, since that's what we're using it for, and this label too will correspond with the Fahrenheit, which is spelled really wonky. All right, and then let's go ahead and set these in the grid. We just use the same properties that we did here, same padding and everything. And then let's just copy and paste this, move this down, grab our fields here, and then we'll put these on the next row. All right, so let's see what this looks like now. And now you can see we can input some stuff here. We can hit tab to go to the next one. We can't really do anything with it though. So to actually make this GUI more interactive, we're gonna need some buttons for it, right? Let's get them buttons in there. We'll do that with using the old buttoned prefix, so people that are working with this GUI can recognize that this corresponds to a button if there's references to it later on in the code. This is a small program, so you're probably not going to see that. And again, all of these TkInter GUI components take in the actual GUI object for the first parameter. And then the text of what the button will do when you press it. So just for user experience, we're going to say convert C to F. You can set the background and the foreground on this, and then you need a command to bind this to. So there's going to be a func that goes in here. And then we're going to do the same thing with a button to convert Fahrenheit to Celsius. Could also have like one button to rule them all. Just convert whatever is in there, but we're going to use two buttons to give one priority over the other. So that way you can type in both boxes and transfer them around. And you don't want them bound to the same function, so that's going to be going to a different one. And then same thing as what we've done up here. This should be getting habit. You don't actually name Python stuff using camel case, so I'm going to change this. And in my paste bin, that from when I coded this earlier, I use camel case, which is not pep. So not technically correct. Then we need to change the text on the convert Fahrenheit to Celsius button actually. Move this down a row in the UI. We'll run it. Func1 is not defined, so we need placeholders for the functions. We'll declare them in line right next to the buttons, so you can kind of see that. You can put the functions in another file and call it button handlers. You can use object-oriented programming to pass your GUI reference around. You can do all sorts of fun organization things. But again, to keep this video slightly shorter, we're just going to do it right here. Define func1. I don't think this takes any arguments, and it just takes the reference in line. Right, yep. So this function is just going to pass, and then saying we need a reference for function 2, and this is just going to pass. And it's going to use the global namespace. So now you can see we have our buttons. When we type in stuff here, it doesn't actually do anything yet. So now, for the next step, is we'll make these functions get the integer values from what is typed into the labels, or the entry boxes, use that to do some math, and then post the value back into the other entry box. And then we'll have a working tool. So that'll be exciting. And for the sake of brevity here, I'm just going to copy the code that I wrote earlier. You guys can check the paste bin link below to look at what that code does in more detail and use this to go ahead and learn from. But we'll copy in the code here, and then we'll talk about what it does. All right, so first, we declare an inline Celsius value. We get it from the field, the little entry component that we declared up here. So you see C field's an entry. When you press the Celsius to Fahrenheit button, you get the value from the C field. You try to parse it as a float. If it's not a float, it will error. Yeah, we'll go ahead and show that. We do the math. So the basic formula to Fahrenheit to Celsius is the Celsius times 9/5 plus 32, which is the freezing constant. Then we delete the value that was in Celsius, or that's in the Fahrenheit, and then we insert the new value into it. And then in our output log, we just say button pressed. We can make this a little more specific and say C to F button pressed. And then same thing here. And then you could even do something more fancy, like put a logger in here and then log that to a text file. So when people are running your program, you can get all the dumps for development purposes if a customer has something go wrong and you need to help them with that. And then Fahrenheit to Celsius, same thing, get the Fahrenheit field, do the inverse operation. So 5 nines times Fahrenheit minus 32 in parentheses. So you apply the constant, before doing the multiplication, and then you replace the Celsius field with the new calculated value as a string. Same thing here, and then you insert that because the entry.insert object expects a string for the second parameter. And the first parameter is just where in the entry field to start the text, so you can actually like put it at a specific index if you're trying to do like some animation things or something that might be useful. But for our little sake here, we're just gonna start it at 0 and clear the whole field. And then we want to replace our button references down here. Okay, where were we? Updating the function names in our button handlers with the commands that get executed when you push them. And you can see how you're using the global references here. So even though C field is not declared in this function, the handler has reference to it because it's in the same module at a higher level. So Python's scope handling does its little magic there. So we'll go ahead and run this program. It says func1 is not defined. Where is it still referencing function1? Is that just because I didn't save it after I updated it? Probably. All right, so 32 degrees Fahrenheit should be 0 Celsius. So you can see here in our window. Oh, you can't really see it because the text is really small. Which I can't actually make bigger. There's probably a, hold on, let's just see if I can look this up. How to scale TkInter GUI. Scale an image. I want to scale the whole thing. It just says resizable. It doesn't actually scale it, but how to resize buttons and dynamically resize buttons. Maybe there's a way. I'll look into that. Maybe that'll be the next video. This one's already getting kind of long, so we'll leave this as it is. And you can see our tool works here. So actually, I think 232 degrees Celsius. 449 degrees Fahrenheit. Anyway, 0 degrees Celsius equals 32. So you can see that that is working, and the button presses go back and forth. So 100 degrees Fahrenheit, 37 degrees Celsius. And then 98.5 degrees Fahrenheit, the human body temperature, roughly 36.9. So anything over 36.9, flight fever. But that's very dependent on the person. I think it's average to go up to 99 and with digestion and all those fun things. That's a different talk. Anyways, I hope you guys found this useful. And that's how you make a small utility tool with TkInter in Python. Thanks.